Hi guys, it's Will here. I thought I would go through some stocks and the sort of strategy that I use and some of the stocks that I have, and hopefully just give you some ideas. And obviously, I'm not an advisor. I can't give you any, advice on what to buy. But for education purposes, I like to share stuff that I'm doing and learning. So I've talked about, and mostly right now, this video is going to be kind of showing you when you break a downtrend and you start to head up. It's a fairly common device. It doesn't work 100%. We're kind of using probabilities. Like we're not going to have, guarantee or anything like that. But so I talked about NAT before, and what I do is I use trend lines. So you see here, we broke the trend line, we started heading up. And so you have this uptrend here. But when you break a downtrend and you're near a 50 moving average, you could not break through, or you break through and then you come back. So you see how it broke over the 50, that's the blue line here, and then it came back and sort of bounced off of it. So some people wait to see that it breaks through and then comes back, tests it, and then starts to go up. The other problem, once it confirms here and it starts to go up, is you have a nearby high, and that is potentially what they call resistance. So it may not get beyond that point. You can go back even further in terms of finding other, like this is a point here. So that means that people that bought up here have lost money. They're waiting for it to come back to the same general area and then they get out. Or there's just people that are technical analysis type people and they sell. So it's a self-fulfilling prophecy in that sense. But anyway, once we bounce down, a lot of times it'll bounce and then it'll fail. So when you see these lower highs, you can draw a line like a downward, like you might have it here, it break through, but you don't want to just get like the first absolute break of a downtrend. You have to see that it confirms. I like these green dots as well. These are volatility stops. They kind of show when it's below the stock price. Your odds are better. So you want to see it flip, over to green. But some people do buy first breaks like this. But so now you can see what happened was. We're just continually going down here. So I'll show you some stocks that I've been looking at. There's different scenarios. So if you have a trend, so there's amazing stocks and ETFs. This is ARKF. It's a fintech. I mean, this is insane, like amazing, right? How it just keeps coming up, back, up, and just keeps going. So you can get in, like I have these little arrows where there's a bit of a pullback, and then, that's the ideal scenario. When you get up here, like say, you don't have this part of the chart, you're going up a little bit steep and you're getting away from the 8 EMA. But so your probabilities go down that it's going to, keep going up right away. But if you get a pullback, it's a better, probability. Also, if you have your stops close to the 8 EMA, your risk is lower than if you have it. If you buy up here and you don't have you're not going to sell until it hits way down here. There's more loss potential there. So you have stocks that are kind of in this beautiful uptrend. This one, FSLY, there was a little bit of news on that one. It's a crowd stock. But I wanted to show you that you have this downtrend here. And when it starts to come back, like I wouldn't buy here because I'm below the 8 EMA. And then you had this break. And so you see the green, the volatility stop switched over. So there's other indicators you can look at. MACD, stochastics are rising. And so it's up to you where you jump in. But you see how it spiked here and then there's this pullback. So sometimes you get a big candle and then profit taking. So if you miss this big candle, you can wait and see what happens the next day. Now there was a rise here and then it pushed right back down. So I didn't get in. And then the other thing is to wait in the morning. You can wait for 15 to 30 minutes and see what happens. So as it comes up and push back, and once you push down through the open price again, that's not a great sign. You can see up here, they opened up here, they went up, and then it pushed right back down, and then you had a huge gap down. So those are bad signs. If you want to know more about candlestick trading, I would highly recommend joining Steve Bigelow's Candlestick Forum. It's like a live chat room, and you get all sorts of video recommendations on stocks and that's in the link in the description below to his store. And also the TC2000 that I use, you can get a free trial and a $25 off coupon for TC2000. I've got the gold package and US real-time data. There's also a stock trading course, and you can learn all about buying and selling and stop losses and all that stuff. But the other thing with TC2000 right now is you're seeing this candle, which is in the pre-market. So it shows down here 8:06 a.m., which is Eastern time, and it's up 3.76% right now, 3.44%. So that's a nice feature, is to see the pre-market. But so I bought here, and there was news that they bought some company, but technically speaking, you're above the 8 EMA, you're above the 50, you came up, you came back and tested it. So a lot of times it breaks through, like I mentioned in the last stock, comes back down, tests it. You can see the wick came right down to the 50, and then you have this uptrend. So that is a fairly early entry. If you look at this trend line here, you see a poke through, you might be tempted to jump in right there, but I have this, I should draw it a little bit closer like that. So you might have a steep trend line like this. It breaks through, and then you get this pullback, and then it keeps coming down, and you see the red dots here. There's other things like this I use price percent oscillator, but it's similar to MACD. You can see like a declining momentum, as well. So the other things you notice here is there's resistance here. So you could extend that, some people might do that, and because it's pretty close here, and wait for it to break through. So, you could buy here, or you could wait for this breakout here. And it's not a long-lived trade. So once you get this really steep parabolic move, you got to be careful. And one option is to switch to a shorter time frame and then get out like when it breaks through an 8 EMA on a shorter time frame. But if you didn't sell with this kind of scenario, you might be opening up the next morning down here, and there wouldn't be a great gain on that one. But that's not a common experience. So let's go to some other stocks. So in Canada, there's this Air Canada. So airlines did pretty well yesterday, but you can see here that we have an uptrend. And the nice thing is when it pulls back and then confirms with an up candle like this, or even, yes, this area right here confirms kind of an uptrend with a higher low. And now we broke through the 50. So there was a bit of a break here, and then it came back, and then yesterday it went up again. Let's see, what else can we look at? Like I said, there's some stocks that are in pretty good uptrends, but you'd like to go back and see where you could have got in when it started its initial uptrend. There are entry points that are probably pretty decent. This one's flattening. It's IIPR. It's kind of a cannabis play. If we look at Constellation Brands, we have this downtrend here, and we broke through. You can see we broke up over the 50. There's a test here. The wick comes right down. Well, this one comes down to the 8 EMA, which is that's the line I use. But it broke, and it basically, came back a little bit. So you don't have to buy right away when it breaks. But you can see now we're in this nice uptrend. And then if you have a few days, like it came up here, then it went down, then it went back up, and it kind of pulled back from that. That can be considered a resistance. And then you could say when it breaks up above that line. And the nice thing with TC2000 is I right click on that line and I say set alert, and then I can get a text message, or it pops up messages up here, and I or email, but you can see if you're in the app, you get an alert. And that way you're not sort of clicking around and checking stocks all the time. You can just, set the alert. What else? So there's a lot of stocks that are in generally a nice uptrend. And you might think it's too late sometimes. Like if you were looking at the stock, at what point would you have thought, oh, it's too high, it's been going up for too long, but this thing just keeps going. So you don't have to try to second guess what's happening. A lot of times these are easy to maintain stocks. You just buy them and keep them as long as they don't go down below the 80 MA or they break a downtrend in a significant fashion. It's up to you, what your exact criteria is. There's some stocks that are early breakouts, is what I call them. Is ideally when you get in, so you have a downtrend, a bit of a flat spot, and a resistance, and then you break through. You see these green volatility stops, rising MACD, crossover here, rising stochastics, and that's a great sign. Of course, you have certain resistance points here, which you could consider. And it doesn't have to be, there's a couple scenarios. You have this downtrend where you break through, and this is a good entry point, but then there's a potential for resistance at this previous high. So this is an entry point, which is great. You could sell here to see what happens. And then if it breaks through, it may come back and reconfirm. But if I pull back here, this is an amazing uptrend since March 23rd, probably, around there somewhere. We're looking at record highs here. So record highs it's not a guarantee, but there's no resistance, at this point. I've got a watch list with what I call early breakouts, and some of these might be too far gone now in terms of where they're at. But if you look at transportation, it's been in a big uptrend, but you had a pullback, you had a break, that would be a good spot. So I put an arrow right here. But you can see you had a decent up candle yesterday. So yeah, some of these are a bit late now. I have to kind of sort of prune this a bit. Let's just take a look at some here. Yeah, so DocU had a downtrend, came back up. There's some resistance here. So you see this high, like I can draw a line. Sometimes you notice that it doesn't quite, if you hold the shift key, you create a horizontal line here. But if you're buying here, you have to be careful, kind of see what's happening. And sure enough, it bounces off that. But now you're this morning, there's a bit of a breakthrough. So you could put an alert and wait a bit and see if it clears that line, or even comes back and retests it, depending on your level of, sorry, I gotta get a coffee drink here. Between, if you're conservative or if you want to get in sooner. So anyways, the main message of this video is that I like to look at uptrends, obviously, hopefully confirmed with a higher low, and it works quite a bit. And obviously, if there's a choppiness to it, I don't really like, so if you look here, we had a break, but you have this 50 kind of close by, and then we bounce down. I wouldn't be getting into this right now, but there's a bit of a few up candles here, but it's too early for me. I'd want to see more of an established uptrend before I get in. And if it's close to the 50, I'd probably want to just wait until it breaks through the 50, because I don't want it to get stuck at the 50. Hope that helps, and we'll leave a comment, like and subscribe the video, and don't forget to check out TC2000. The link is in the description below. See you guys.